I've noticed that in the sport of CrossFit, the dip exercise is almost always performed on gymnastic rings, which is a reality that could frustrate many beginner athletes as this apparatus requires a ton of stabilization skill. Please don't get me wrong here, dips on gymnastic rings are a fantastic and challenging exercise I do practice myself from time to time. It heavily targets all the muscles responsible for a push type of movement and you get an insane stretch in your chest. My only issue with gymnastic rings is that they set the entry-level bar too high for beginners. So in your typical CrossFit box, you would normally see coaches offer a regression whereby you loop a resistance band around the rings to reduce the load, in this case your own body weight. The problem with this regression is that you're still not addressing the main obstacle here, the elephant in the room, stabilization. Let's break down what's happening here real quick. Your typical beginner trainee presents two major deficiencies. Number one, lack of specific strength. In other words, the inability to produce enough force in a dip position. And number two, lack of upper body stabilization. That is the inability to sustain a strong muscular contraction over time to create stable base from which to produce that force. Resistance bands will definitely help you with number one, but not with number two. You would never recommend someone who can barely do 5 regular push-ups on the floor to loop a resistance band around his waist to complete push-ups on top of 3 Swiss balls. That'd be ridiculous. You would probably have him do incline push-ups or knee-assisted push-ups. Notice that these two regressions are performed on solid surfaces. The demand for stabilization only relates to the athlete's ability to move his body efficiently across space, not because he has to deal with an external factor like unstable points of contact. The same principle should be applied to the dip exercise for beginners to make faster progress, and that's the reason why you would want to have parallel bars in your CrossFit box. I'm not saying that the band regression is bad, it's not. All I'm saying is that a more stable alternative would allow trainees to accumulate more training volume in a shorter period of time. And that's exactly what you want for them to develop a strength foundation in this particular exercise. And let's face it, we've all seen that dudes taking advantage of the accommodating resistance property of the bands to bounce up and down just for the sake of counting reps. That's going to do zero for the athlete. So all you're going to need to set up a stable dip station is 2 plyometric boxes and 2 rather heavy dumbbells. Place the 2 boxes parallel to each other and at a distance that allows the athlete to stand in between them. Then you place the 2 dumbbells on top of each box to provide a bar type of handle the athlete can grab. Et voila! This will literally take 30 seconds to put together and the beginner trainee will benefit much more from this setup at the early stages of his training career. I've seen it many times. The gal in the class who could perhaps do a single, grindy and shaky dip on gymnastic rings without any band at all, now can do 4 to 5 proper dips in this environment. The slightly overweighted dude who could barely do 3-4 dips on rings with a very thick band now can do double that number of reps with the same band on a solid dip station. And this is perfect to cause the type of adaptations we want to see, which is for both athletes to get better at dips because now they are accumulating training volume at a much faster rate. And I do understand the sport of CrossFit, as far as I know, uses gymnastic rings for dips for the most part. But in a box environment training general population, who cares, honestly? The vast majority of people have no competitive aspirations. They just want to get a decent watt and get a bit fitter every day while having fun with other people. That's all. And in the pursuit of fitness and self-improvement for the vast majority of the population, I would invite coaches to try this more stable regression for their non-competitive beginner athletes. Am I saying that ring dips are a bad exercise? No. Am I saying that beginners won't make any progress using a ring dip only approach? Absolutely not. However, Given the reasons I laid out in this video, I strongly believe that beginners will make gains at a faster rate if they start off with dips on parallel bars. You need to build a strength foundation in a given exercise to then make a smoother transition into a harder progression. In other words, you need to learn how to walk before you can run. That is just my opinion. But what are your thoughts? What is your stance on dips? Please drop me a line in the comment section down below to share your view on this topic. And while you're down there typing a comment and hating on me, what are you waiting for? Give me a thumbs up. If this video gets 100 likes, then I'll make a follow-up video discussing the specifics on dip regressions.